Welcome to Fireside Chat with Shefali 2022, a special edition when we are the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Japan. The year 2022 marks the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Japan. To celebrate this momentous year, the Indo-Japan Business Council has decided to host a series of events. Let us work together to forge a vibrant India-Japan relationship for future generations. For more details, please visit our website www.ijbc.org. So I'm very delighted to introduce my today's guest. And it is very special session actually, because this is the first session of the year, and I'm delighted to introduce Miss Dhanashree Sangh Khatpande. Subcontinental business might take a slow growth when it comes to language barriers. Dhanashree is a freelance Japanese language interpreter helping business professionals from India connect their Japanese clients. She is the one you go for interpretation as well as from Japanese to English and English to Japanese, translation and documentation. She is passionate about traveling, sharing Japanese culture in Indian societies and vice versa. She also loves to coordinate with an aim to be one of the bridge person cultivating Indo-Japanese relationships. One may seek her private consultation and Japanese language related works. I'm also delighted to tell that Dhanashree is also recently joined IJBC as an executive secretary. So Dhanashree, I welcome you to Fireside Chat with Shefali
Thank
in
you.
2022.
Thanks a lot, Shefali. First of all, Happy New Year. And thanks for inviting me, giving this opportunity to talk with you.
Thank you, Dhanashree. Thank you for making out time for us and joining me for the session. So yes, Happy New Year to you too. Dhanashree, okay, now we'll start my questionnaire session with you.
Yes.
So I would like to, I have given you an introduction. Would you like to add something in that previously?
No, I
Or
guess.
I was the perfect one.
Yeah, I guess you have introduced very nicely, and thanks for the introduction. I guess it says everything about me and my work. Yes. As I love to connect people, I would enjoy your session as well.
Thank you. So if I start with the question round, so I would like to know, scrolling your profile, I was seeing that you have started your education in physics. You have a bachelor's degree, I think, in physics. So is
Yeah,
it
that's
true?
correct. Yes, that's correct, actually. So before jumping into Japanese language profession or even even in education, I was preparing for Indian Defense Service examinations, and while studying BSc Physics, and while studying that, actually, I got an opportunity to attend one international conference where I meet some, international, my international friends or even pan India friends, you can say. And there we had a great, exchange of words, exchange of thoughts, culture, economy, even for kind of Bollywood dance, which is really famous in the world. So that was really like overwhelming for me. Those people who are really attracted towards India, and I was really, stunned because of those expressions. So there I got a chance to have uh, communication as well as our experience sharing. So we exchanged some thoughts, we exchanged some language, and when I back to Pune, it was like those language part, it was continuously going on my mind. So I searched about some Japanese language, and I started thinking about that okay, I can go for something new to learn, and I opted for language course.
So was that that international conference was in India or in some other country?
Yeah, it was in Delhi actually in 2013.
Okay.
Right.
Wow. So I must say it was a great decision, at least for people like me who don't know Japanese language, and they can express our views to the business or something like that, because we don't know Japanese, and we can take a help of yours.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Okay, so when exactly you started Japanese language course?
So it was on the
Means
same year
when
actually. I graduated
2013.
from physics in 2013, and in the same year when I came back to Pune, I thought that yeah, this is, as I am also studying for UPSC. I was trying to keep my momentum in the same direction. So let's try something new and keep learning. So I opted for language. And then it was not actually thought that I will make my career or I will choose this Japanese language for a career at that time. So I just started with the part-time courses like certificates or diploma, those courses.
So, okay. So you started with the certification. So that includes JLPT exams as well.
Yes, actually, I studied simultaneous certificate course as well as JLPT. So I was giving JLPT exams on simultaneous basis, and after advanced diploma, I got an opportunity to visit Japan for the very first time for an internship. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, so that experience was really, I cannot express it in my words actually, but that was the point where I took my decision that I shall go for major in Japanese.
Sure. So you said that you got the chance and you got the scholarship actually to for your further studies.
Right.
So could you please elaborate a little bit, because it will be very helpful for students who is going to watch this interview,
Yes,
and
definitely.
students also the professionals also, because they get the idea what are the scholarship available for
Yes, yes.
them.
Sure. So the internship was also sponsored by METI, Ministry of Industry, Trade and Economics, Japan, and that was of 3 months. So I was in Fukushima Prefecture, if you know, and I worked there. I work as an intern for 3 months there. After coming back to India, Pune, I have taken BA Japanese, and in that we have again an opportunity to apply for 1 year scholarship, which is again sponsored by Embassy of Japan, called as mixed scholarship, and I had applied for that as well. So in 2017 and 18 I went back to Japan in Hiroshima University for studying further, so advanced Japanese and Japanese language, Japanese culture.
Wow. So this whole advanced Japanese and initial level of Japanese you did in Japan.
Uh, yes, you can say that. So while pursuing my BA, in the last year, I received this scholarship, and after coming back, I completed my graduation. Then I started my work.
Oh, wow. So I think it's a long journey, not a short one, but it's
Yes.
interesting and very motivational to students who are applying for the scholarship. And is this scholarship is related only for a Japanese language students, or there are certain categories also where people can apply, like if they want to go for some other streams?
Right. So under the MEXT, actually, there are variety of categories where you can apply for scholarships. There are undergraduate scholarships like us who are, willing to learn advanced Japanese and Japan's culture. Those are sponsored by Japan government. Again, there are undergraduate scholarships who want to pursue their graduation in Japan.
Okay.
So you can give those exam after 12th or while you're giving your board exams. Those scholarships are available. Then we have masters and research scholarship or PhD scholarships. Masters will be of 2 years and plus one PhD. So there are two categories again. And there, I guess you don't need any kind of Japanese language certification unless and until your research theory is strong.
Okay.
Again, if you have any Japanese language certification, that will be definitely beneficial for applying.
Okay, just a small question, like just out of curiosity. Many people says that if you are going to Japan, you should know Japanese language. And like what I'm reading as of now, Japanese universities are providing certifications or diploma or degree courses in English languages as well. So
Right.
is it really very important to know Japanese language?
Very frankly, as people say, like whenever you visit Japan, language is barrier. But in my case, I would say I think language is the one where it gets connect to you with different people. So even if you don't know Japanese here, if you applied for any master course or any research program, there are universities who provide 6 months of language training course, and then they go further for their research courses. Or there are some international organizations in their local cities who provide free language education for foreigners. So it is really not necessary if you must know language here before visiting Japan.
Okay, so I guess this point is also very beneficial for the students because they have something at the back of their mind. Oh God, I don't know Japanese language, or it takes me years to learn that.
Right.
So let us drop the idea of going to Japan and study there.
Yes, that's correct. But yeah, there are some when you're applying for scholarship which are sponsored by government, Japan government, then there are some criteria that you must know language because it's their criteria, and they want to enhance their culture and their language, definitely. So in those cases they have, but there are also some like other research scholarships which I have said earlier, that they don't like ask for you for JLPT preparation or language preparation. They take care of it in their universities rather.
Okay, sure. So, how was your experience in Japan? Means when first you landed in Japan, the first experience.
Yes, it was really good. Like as speechless as I said, but my journey was quite different, I would say, because whenever you go through education, you go through education first, then apply for internship, then apply for employment. But my journey was quite different. I first went as an intern, then got more interest in language, then came back, studied language. So when I went as an intern, I was really shocked seeing their working culture, where I cannot forget my first day of working, where I could see my president, like company president, who had broom in his hand, and he was cleaning his whole company in the normal uniform. It was not a blazer kind of thing or nothing. It's the same uniform which was I wore, he wore, and he was cleaning the company. And when I saw him, I was really shocked because the culture of these equality is completely different in Japan, and it is unforgettable.
Yeah, it must be a really big shock because here in India, it's really different.
We have a kind of cabin facility for ourselves, and it's completely different.
Yeah, in fact, for a tea or coffee, you will get it on your table.
Exactly. So yeah, that
So,
working
yeah.
experience taught me a lot, and that also why language, because language also has its own culture in different ways. So yeah, I that was really, turning point, you could say, where I choose my language major.
So it was like a turning point to your career.
Right, you could say that. Yeah.
So, okay, after your scholarship, I think last year you completed your graduation, uh,
In 2019, 18 or 19.
2019. Nine. Okay, so okay, if it is 19, then definitely it's Corona time now, so you
Uh,
won't be able to.
no, then sorry, I'm sorry. So it was in 2018, back to Corona.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So have you able to go back to Japan after 2018?
After 2018, yes, I was in Japan for one assignment of an interpretation itself. So I was there in Tokyo for 2 months again as a proper consultant. Again, that was a different role and different learning. Yes, so I went back in Japan in 2019 in May and mid March and May around.
Sure. Okay, and when you applied for the for scholarship, was it a smooth and easy process? Means apart from study, apart from giving exams and something like that, was it a smooth process? Because sometimes we heard that there are problems doing this criteria, fulfilling this criteria, doing that paperwork, completing this thing, so it gets all messed up or very tricky thing or get delayed. So from India and from Japan, was it a smooth transition from India to Japan for your scholarship?
Yes, actually, it was very smooth, I would say. Apart from exam point of view, there are very much competition for the same
Yeah.
scholarship, you can say, because there are many people who apply, and they it's like dream country. So applying it, giving an exam, and after getting your selection, till you land to Japan, it's a very smooth process as it's handled by Embassy of Japan, Government of Japan. They don't, give you any chance to feel like, uh, are we really sure that we are getting this scholarship, or are we really sure that we are going to get our visa? So it was really not like that. It's completely end to end, like from departing from Pune to landing back to Pune was very smooth.
So that's a good thing actually, because sometimes students get really not upset but depressed with this
Right.
thing. Okay, whether we are getting the scholarship, whether we have passed or not, or what are the other formalities we have to go through. So it's a long process.
Yes. If your application process is like, you have a proper application form, and you have a proper, what you can say, your exam results in your hand, then I guess nobody can stop you. And even now, the visa process is very much easier than before. So you get your visa in hardly 3 working days.
Wow. So I must say students should buckle up and do all the preparation, do hard work for the scholarship, and they'll definitely get the visa for study.
Yes,
Sure.
definitely.
So, okay, we had a detailed discussion over scholarship. How was your life in Japan, like your college life, how you adjust over there? Because there's a cultural difference.
Yes.
From India to Japan, there's a cultural difference. So, how difficult or easy for you to accommodate over there, to get adjusted among people of Japan?
Right. As language was not barrier for me, it was very much easy to get connected with people. And me personally, I would say I'm extrovert and I like to chit chat with people. I like to connect with different people. So it was more easier for me to interact with Japanese students or their local. I had joined some of art circles in my university who where Japanese students group come together and do some social work or community work for their society. So I had joined those circles. Then I was also connected with the international center of the city, where they organize different cultural programs, not only of Japanese culture but also international culture, where I had participated in one program and I could show all the Japanese people how Diwali is celebrated in India. So I had made a piece of rangoli over there. I had made some lanterns over there and made some presentations. And everyone was really enjoying that part. So that was really fun part I made. Then I had done one event where we have prepared a misal, which is a Pune special misal, you can say,
Wow.
food from Pune. And it was really enjoying. All Japanese people ate, though it was spicy, they ate so much and lovingly, and they liked it a lot.
Yeah, actually, I was about to say misal is very spicy actually.
Yes, it is. But yeah, many Japanese people like spicy food, and many Japanese people like Indian food especially.
And the one thing which is very interesting is they are very down to earth and ready to, experiment with the food
Yes,
actually.
yes, they are very foodie
They
people actually.
Sure. So you can say that whatever you participated in Japan, whatever the communities, you are still in touch, or you get the uh, benefit of that benefit in the sense the soft skills developed,
Yes,
which you can use here in India.
yes, definitely. Those connections or those participations made me, communicate smoothly with Japanese people and taught me how to connect politely with every person, taught me how to connect calmly and coordination skills, you can say, which I'm really using here while interpreting uh, my in industries. And language skills, definitely I have learned a lot.
Sure. So I would also like to know that since we are celebrating 70th anniversary in the Japan diplomatic relations, so if you were a student at this moment, what you would have done there means the participation in different things, or what would you like to say to students who are there in Japan so that the relationship between India and Japan can be more cordial, more friendly. It's like promoting each other cultures.
Right, right. So I guess yes, we have a new era of India and Japan relationship now, and it's growing faster and faster and stronger and stronger. Definitely, if I were a student in Japan now, I would definitely would like to organize one food event again, where I would ask a Japanese person to make some easy recipe of India and connect or interact with people, because again food is another culture and language is another culture, and both, if you collaborate those both together, it will be a very nice communication, I guess so. And in the same way, vice versa, I will ask an Indian person to make some easy Japanese recipes here in India and connect with Indian people.
So in that, would you like take the initiative or Yeah, would you like to take the initiative where you can do a fusion of food like Indo-Japanese or
Yes,
because today
definitely.
morning I got the idea somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Indo fusion recipes could be there. Yes. And while doing this, definitely, if a Japanese person makes an Indian recipe, definitely he has his own hands and own thinking of food. So he will definitely add his some of his thoughts or some of his ingredients, I can say. And that will be a different kind of recipe, not the original one. Right. So there, that's where the collaboration works, right? That's where the culture works.
Sure. So, okay, you started as a student. Now you owning a firm, means you're the owner of the firm. So tell me a little bit about your firm, what it is all about.
Sure. So while studying Japanese language or pursuing certifications, I had started my freelancing work from there itself. So small events or small volunteering kind of thing, you can say. And then those were the points where I got my confidence that yes, I can communicate with people, I can coordinate with people, and I can use my these skills even in the future as well. So I started taking up those assignments, and it was a flow. It was not a completely decided that I want to be an interpreter kind of thing. But yeah, it was in the flow. And then I decided that, okay, I am right now in the position that I can go for my own. And, I can confidently say that I am an interpreter now. So yes, so then I thought about creating the Lingo, and the Lingo is my firm name where I provide interpretation and project coordination services as well as translations as and when required.
Okay, so when you started interpretation work, what I know, you worked in a manufacturing company as well as in some, uh, if I'm not wrong, IT sector also. Is
Yes,
it right or wrong?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
So how difficult it is, interpreting in manufacturing industry, then in IT companies or company or industry like FMCG,
Right. So
because their terminology gets changed
yes,
sometimes.
yes, definitely. The domain is like the corners, and it's
Yeah.
very difficult to know. But in my case, I would say as I had an experience of BSc graduating in physics and experience of my internship in manufacturing company, so that helped me while interpreting for manufacturing or automobile industries here in India. For IT domain, it was really difficult because I had no knowledge. It was completely greenfield for me, and I started studying, like preparing before assignments, and then I thought like now I have to jump, and then I started taking assignments of IT as well, IT industries as well. Apart from that, yes, I have been for tourism. I have been for now. I'm working for one of the medical industry in Japan. So yeah, getting to learn new things every year.
Sure. So if I say that being the interpreter, you are the right person to tell whether like for me, I know it's not an easy job, but sometimes it happens like company says, oh, ये तो Japanese का करना है ना, Google पे डालो हो जाएगा. Sometimes it happens to save their money. They
Yes,
do that.
yes.
So what do you want to tell about that?
Yes, now there
Because
are
it's
technologies, machine translations are available definitely, but that goes for again documentation. When the communication part is concerned, machine translation will not work 100% or accurately. The accuracy will not be the words you want, because when you communicate or when you have your business deals, definitely you have your own feelings, you have your own mindset behind that, and that Google won't understand, right? That what exactly you want to say. And again, if you go with the Japanese language, it's very different. The way they say, or the way they use their business Japanese language, it's completely different. And sometimes we really laugh at Google Translation because it's completely the way opposite the person wants to say. Not particularly I will say about the Google, but it's commonly a tool for translation is used for.
Yeah. So one more thing, like when student learn different language, or some professional is also learning a different language, the misconception is there. Like
Yes.
the only career option is either interpretation or translation.
Right. Yes, but there is completely, it's not the case where if you learn the language, then you only will be a translator or an interpreter. But there are so many industries right now where you can use your language skills, because India is the one of the fastest growing technological country, and people need translator or interpreter definitely, but the language skill person to localize their business. So not only a translator or an interpreter, we have tourism, we have embassy, where people need language skilled employees. Then we have so many industries, even the architecture, you can say, animation, you can say. So it's sky's the limit for language.
Sure. So apart from this, like there are times when I can really see that my friends who are into translation or interpretation, like they really get upset when something. What I can say is the monetary or financial in monetary or financial terms, if I say, they get underpaid sometimes, or I can say most of the time, because again the company thinks, okay, ye itne kam mein kar raha hai, I should go with him, translation hi to karwana hai. So
Right.
what you can say for that? Because it as a career, if I see, it's really unfair, because they have also studied, they work hard for their career, and it's a career, ultimately it's a job.
Yes, definitely. Even if you are doing a job, I will say you get paid properly as per your job salary. But when the freelancers comes, it gets really yeah, as you said, it is really kind of underpaid thing, because it's kind of आपके लिए तो ये cup of tea है, just it's nothing. And for translation or interpretation, definitely you need skills, because it's not only a tool or machine translation. You have to pay attention for each and every sentence, for each and every emotion what the speaker wants to state. What was the exact meaning of that, exact meaning or exact purpose behind that. So yes, definitely there are like it's kind of Indian society, you can say, which are still struggling to accept us as a proper well paid employers, you can say, or freelancers.
So as a representative of interpreter community, what would you like to do for them? Or is there anything you wish that there should be certain rules or regulations should be made, some policies should be made to safeguard their rights, actually?
Yeah, actually,
Because yeah.
at my level, I guess I'm not the right person to exactly answer your question. But yes, definitely we can think of that. We can initiate these things that, for these kind of, whenever interpretation or translation concerns, there is a language certifications required, that you should be JLPT level N3 or JLPT level N2. So according to that, I guess we can set some paras for, or some decide some amount kind of thing, which is fixed for each and every translator or interpreter. Not translator, because translation goes by word, but for interpretation, definitely we can do that. Because again, there are some industries who hire freelancers. They get well paid, but freelancers get underpaid again. So these kind of, flaws we should check, or we will have to take care further, that otherwise interpreters or translation industries will not grow.
And somewhere I think previously I have written that interpreters and translators are actually like a forgotten heroes, because they connect the world, they connect the people, they connect the culture. So they are forgotten heroes and people should acknowledge them. It's very important.
Yes, I really feel that while working, because whenever I go with the Japanese delegation, or whenever I go with the Indian delegations, it happens whenever our work ends, the connection ends. It's like that. So it's like, okay, you were there for translation, you are done, you are done, you are done for the day. It's kind of that thing. But no, there are some industries as well who really, behave is not the proper word, but really, what I can say. I'm not getting the proper word right now.
It's okay. It happens. Sometimes mind gets freeze.
Yeah,
It happens.
but there are
With
industries
me,
who
it's
are,
happened.
acknowledging interpreters or translators and giving them rights to go further, or giving them those motivations that yes, because of you we are here, and because of you we are dealing with this business.
Yeah. So it's like due credit which should be given.
Definitely.
Okay. So, okay, one thing more, and you must be aware of this, like Indo-Japan Business Council is in progress of making bilingual directory as of now, which we started last year, but yes, some of the things are still in progress, because we want a proper directory where people can get a proper data, companies or the individual can refer that thing. So as an interpreter or representing that community, the whole community, what would you expect from that bilingual directory? What should be there, or what we should do in that to get it successful, or get it moreover successful, get it the solve the purpose of that?
Yes, first of all, it is really good that someone is taking this kind of initiative and creating a one common platform for everybody. It is really nice, and it is really nice to know. I guess this industry will really helpful to connect directly to the people, instead of whenever we get some kind of reference, or it is very difficult to get clients by ourselves, even though we do marketings, or all the SNS kind of thing right now are really booming, but still connecting with the client is really get difficult. But this kind of directory will definitely help to those industries who wants to connect directly to freelancer, or industries, or proper organizations, or even for individuals it will get beneficial to connect with the industries. So yes, I really think that it is really nice initiative, and it will help freelancers as well as industry.
Sure. Okay, so lot of we had a word over scholarship. We have a detailed communication, detailed words over your student life in Japan. So now I would want to take it a little bit on lighter note before I close the interview. So, is there any funny moment which you want to share with us? Like it may happen in Japan or in India uh, among Japanese people or with a Japanese person.
Yes, there are plenty. Whenever you go for on-site interpretation, it really gives you memories. Galaxy of memories are there. So I'll share one of my experience when I was in Japan for the very first time. And till that time, I was kind of a vegetarian person. Right now, I can eat. I can eat meat and all. But that time it was really difficult. It was the very first week of Japan in Tokyo, and I was searching for the vegetarian food. And one of the combini I went, and I was I searched, I roam around the whole combini. I couldn't find anything. And then I asked to the counter keeper that will I get any vegetarian food, or do you know here if there is any vegetarian food? And he was, literally looking at me almost for 1 minute, completely staring at me, and little bit confused. I was like, what to do? I was completely unaware, not knowing what he wants to say to me, whether he has veg food or he really don't have it. But then he suddenly said, your Japanese is very good. And I was like, what? I want something to eat now. I don't want to listen this. I want something to eat. I'm very hungry. But he was like, no, you are really speaking good Japanese. And I was like, no, I want some food to eat. I again repeating the same sentence. And then he came back to the answer, and he gave me the road towards the Indian restaurant in Tokyo. But that was really fun part. Like, whenever you get this kind of, uh, what you can say, appreciation for Japanese language, even if you say normal konnichiwa in Japanese, they will praise you for your language, definitely. So it's kind of, what you can say, a habit or a cultural society which they have, that they really feel proud if someone is speaking their language.
Sure. So that was the interesting one. From vegetarian, you became. Actually, you got the chance to get introduced with the Japanese cuisine, I would say.
Yeah.
So what you prefer to do?
In Hiroshima, I tried very much Japanese food, and I am fond of Japanese food now.
So what's your favorite food?
It's Hiroshima style okonomiyaki.
Okay, I should try once I'll get
Yes,
to Japan.
Definitely. There is one okonomiyaki mura called space, where it's, if you literally translate it in English, it's village of okonomiyaki. So there is kind of a tower of around 10 floor, where you have all okonomiyaki shops, only okonomiyaki shops, nothing else.
So I think, I don't know when I'll go to Japan, but people who are in Japan and didn't get the chance to be there,
Definitely try
they they should try, and they can let us know via YouTube.
Yes, definitely. They can comment and say how it was.
Sure. Okay, what you want, what you generally do in your free time? I'm sure you don't get that much free time very easily, being the freelance interpreter.
Yes.
So, but then too, what you like to do?
I like to sketch whenever I have free time, and I love to travel. I love hiking. So whenever I get time, I go for traveling or I go for hiking, or sometime I do sketches. But apart from that, I always keep myself to learn something new. I keep myself busy in learning something new. So from last year, I have started learning violin, and now
Wow.
whenever I get free time, I do practice for that.
Violin, I mean, it's one of the complicated or toughest instrument to play, I guess. What I
Yes,
heard actually.
yes, that's true.
So Dhanashree is always like to, opt, which is very complicated
You
for
can
the
say
tough
so.
job.
Yeah,
So that's what makes Dhanashree different from other people, I'm sure.
thank you.
So before I close this interview, I would like to know if anything you want to say from this platform of IJBC to people who is going to listen this interview of yours.
Mm, as I said earlier, the language, don't think language as a barrier. Language helps you to connect with people, helps you to connect with different culture. We, every language has its own culture, and it's really challenging to learn that thing. Even it makes you, it gives you challenge to learn your own language culture, I would say. So whenever people will seek for any language, foreign language, I would suggest that like simultaneously you should also know your own language culture, your own uh, country's culture, because you never know who can ask you any kind of question. So yeah, we should be
Yeah,
prepared as we represent our country.
yeah,
I'm
that is
still not
very
prepared. I'm
important.
still learning. But yes, definitely, with my experience, I can say that anybody can ask you any question.
Yes, because as we are very curious to their culture, they must be curious for our culture
Exactly.
as well.
Exactly.
And it's really important to know your culture first so that you'll be able to understand others as well.
Right.
So thank you. It was really wonderful talking to you, Dhanashree. It was
Thank
very
you.
insightful, very knowledgeable to people, to students especially, because they are the future. They are the future generation who are going to apply for the scholarship, who are going to, study in Japan or planned to study in Japan, but somewhere,
Yes.
somehow they get depressed or they are not in, the proper inputs they get. So yes, this session is for them, and this session is for interpreters as well,
Thank you.
because they
Thanks
get
a
to know
lot.
the difficulty, yeah, who are going to opt interpretation as a career. So they know what is the difficulty, they know what is what they have to do actually to be the
Right.
interpreter, good interpreter in future. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming to Fireside Chat with Shefali. It was pleasure talking to you. It was my first session for the year, and moreover, it was important because it's a 70th anniversary we are celebrating this year.
Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot, Shefali, for giving me this opportunity for very first time. And it was really nice talking to you. I hope I didn't make you bored. And you, though it was more knowledgeable side or study side, I hope you would have enjoyed this, and listener will also enjoy this. Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Thank you, Dhanashree. So that was Dhanashree Sant Khatpande, entrepreneur, a bridge between India and Japan, I would say. So before I close this interview, finally, I would like to repeat it. Don't forget to visit our website, www.ijbc.org, for more details on upcoming events. Also, don't forget to subscribe our IJBC channel, official YouTube channel. So keep watching. We'll be coming really soon for this session. It will be published very soon on 8th of Jan. And wait for the next session. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Namaste.
Namaste.